I think at this point, the struggle is holding myself back to, indulge in this more. Because, obviously, my parents, it's a hurdle. There's pretty much no space at home for me to store more shoes. Yeah.
Welcome back to our latest episode of Around the Couch, and today we will be talking about CG growth in the aspect of CG parties and also the CG Sundays. And for this episode, we are so glad that we can have Edmund here with us. So Edmund, I understand that you are a lover of shoes.
That's fair.
What would be a struggle for such a person?
I think at this point, the struggle is holding myself back to, indulge in this more. Because, obviously, my parents, it's a hurdle. There's pretty much no space at home for me to store more shoes. Yeah.
Just one more question on this. What would be the trendiest brand out there in the market?
Probably Nike or Adidas lah. Yeah. The mainstream ones. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Edmund. Edmund is a CG leader, used to be a CG leader in our campus group, and he's currently now a zone leader in our campus group. So, Edmund, just to hear from you, can you share with us some of the challenges or even some of your experiences that you have as a CG leader?
I think for the most part it's fun, but I think there were times where it was difficult as well. I think how Yebo has mentioned earlier, I think one of my biggest struggle is to communicate with the members. Though I may not look like it, I'm actually nearing my late 20s. So I find it difficult to find common topics with, especially the younger ones. There were instances where, I would send out messages to 10 people and only 2 will revert. And then there's situations where, we just can't find a common topic. It can be very discouraging, But for me, I think one of the most perhaps underappreciated fact about being a CG leader is that we are just as busy as our members, And for some of us, we have to go the extra mile just to juggle between our work or studies and running a CG.
I think it's something very understandable and something that most of us here can also relate to is the commitments here that we have and also at work or to families and also to leading a CG. And I understand that, even for us to continue to give of our best, our excellence in leading our CG, we turn to God, we look to God for His help, for His guidance in this. And maybe perhaps you can share with us, what are some of the things that God has done to come true for you in your CG?
Oh, there's many. But I think, first of all, I really thank God for providing me with colleagues to assist me in running a CG. These are people who share the same vision, the same heart, and the love for people. And then without them, I couldn't possibly, cover everything myself. I think as a CG, we've had our fair share of highs and lows. There were times where we thought, our attendance were great, excellent. And then there's other time where, we wonder, if our members are even excited to come for CG at all. But I think through it all, we can only attribute where we are as a CG right now to God's faithfulness. Through the seasons, one thing that remains constant for us is that, our focal point is always on God. And we can hold on to the assurance that, He's there to fight our battles. Yeah. And if you agree with that, put an amen in the chat right now.
Amen. All right. And it's very interesting, to really exciting also to hear, how God has come through for you and also in your CG as well. And we see that and we understand that, there's transformation taking place there. And so we just want to hear from you, what are some of the things that came out from this transformation, the exciting, the fun things, that you all managed to do in your CG?
I think there was a time where, we had this team Sunday where everyone would come in coordinated outfits, much like what we are doing today. We are not somehow come in the same color tones. I mean, it's all coordinated. I think that Team Sunday was one of the earliest memories that I had where I thought CG was actually fun.
Yeah.
And then there's also this particular week, we had this World Cup Sunday, where each zone would come in a specific color and we would battle each other for the World Cup. And to me, I think that perfectly encapsulates what CG is all about. It's a safe space for us to have our friends over, to learn and grow and to have fun together. And even as Zone 4, in my zone, and a couple of years back, we had this Nerf battle event. Trust me, it's way more fun than it sounds. You have to be there to really understand what's happening. And I think it will go down in history as one of the best events that we've put together. And then who knew that, shooting plastic darts from out of toy guns would attract such a big crowd. We had a lot of new friends that came over. I think it's partly because most, if not all of us, yearn to be the kid that we once was. And I think it's evident that day that, everyone was just having a good time and it was all smiles. Yeah.
Just an idea, Edmund. The next time you all have this again, please do remember to invite me. I want to join as well.
Absolutely. Perhaps you could try even laser tag or paintball.
I'll hold you to your word. All right. And we really see, things are happening there, for your CG, and it's all by God's grace and God's guidance, and we really thank God for that. And you have gone through so much, in leading a CG and now leading a zone. And all this past experience that you have, we really want to hear from you. How would you, or what advice or even in fact encouragement would you give to a CG leader that's currently now growing their CG in this season?
Times are always changing, things are always growing. I mean, recently, a year ago, we thought that Zoom, is going to be the next big thing for CG, how it's going to revolutionize how we run CG. For a while it did, it helped us connect together, even though we can't meet physically. But I think we know that the hype eventually dies down, that, all of us are not as excited to come meet virtually anymore. And I think that right now it calls for a time to, try new things, as Japheth has put it earlier, to come out of our comfort zone and be fluid. In my CG, I like to tell my members to be ridiculous. Of course, there's context to it, but, be ridiculous in the sense that even if it sounds ridiculous, go for it anyway. We won't know what the outcome is until we give it a go. Some of the changes that we could try perhaps is, breaking our CG into smaller groups, or, trying out different CG activities, or perhaps even meeting on a different platform. Just go for it. I think as CG leaders, we are placed in a position to push our CG forward. The way we approach this is going to have a great impact on our members. If you're already in a place of defeat and frustration because things are not happening the way we want it to be, it's going to discourage our member. Hence, I think it's important for us to remain hopeful and to know that God is fighting alongside us. And as long as we understand the heart behind we do all what we do, I think the positive and happy vibes that we carry will rub off to our members and in turn encourage them as well. Yeah.
And I think it's a very good thing that you brought up. At the end of the day, everything that we do is coming from the heart behind it. It's not so much about our preference, but the heart that God has given us, which is to grow together as a CG, as a community of the same faith, and to grow and encourage one another, to support one another on this journey, personal journey of growing together to know more of God. And and this is the time that really we can take this opportunity just to reset like you said, to reset our CGs, to make it in a different way, to really give the best community environment, for our CGs and to reach out to our friends out there. And with that, I really want to bring us to the last question for this episode is, why do you think it is so important for us to find a community in CG?
I mean, I can testify it myself that, I can only be where I am today thanks to the time I spent in CG. It is this very community that helped me grow in my walk with God and pushed me to be better. I think CG can be a place where you can grow with a group of people like you. When you go through your high school, your college, your uni, and eventually becoming an adult. If you spend time in CG, it can truly be a place for you to grow lah. Even for myself, I think I truly found joy in being in CG. More than just the Bible studies, more than just the fun events. I think the people that I've met along the way, the relationship that I built, really helped shape who I am today. I think for even for the viewers out there who are watching right now, I think everything I've shared today won't make sense to you if you don't experience it yourself. So I think my advice, or rather I would implore you to really give CG a try and to see, how fun it can be lah. Yeah. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Edmund, for sharing with us. And just to recap for all of us here, this is our last episode for Around the Couch. And we have really seen and heard of what God has done for us in the past 6 years. We have seen, that God has made YM to be a place where we encounter God and have our personal revival together. That YM is a place where we move in apostolic work and in the obedience of Him. That YM is the place where God transforms our hearts and purposes, where we know more of Him and make Him known to our families, our friends, our neighbors, and even to the generations to come. The reason why we have this Around the Couch and these stories here today is so that we will remember what God has done for us through us the past few years, and also that we can look forward in anticipation and excitement even as we move into the 6th year with God's purpose in our heart. And so with that, we are very thankful that you are here with us for Around the Couch, and we hope to see you soon, real soon.